There's the critical view, which is that this shifts our standing in the world, that it opens up an opportunity for China to take Taiwan, for Russia to take Ukraine. I mean, how do you think about sort of these bigger geopolitical questions?
Yeah, I've heard that a lot about China and Russia, and does this give them carte blanche to do what they want in their spheres of influence in their regions of the world? Conceptually, I suppose it does, but war is hard. Russia learned that. The invasion of Ukraine, Putin thought that was going to be easy. It has not turned out to be easy. It's actually turned out to be very, very difficult. And then even look at this operation. We used 150 aircraft for 2 individuals to be extradited in under 3 hours. It was an incredibly difficult operation. I think that's got to give a lot of would-be invaders pause about just what does it take to do things. As you mentioned, to take Taiwan is extremely difficult.
Michelle, do you think is it fair to even conflate what we're doing with Maduro to taking by force Taiwan or attacking Ukraine and trying to make it part of Russia? Is it in the same, not even the same ballpark? Is it even in the same sport? I don't need an answer. I don't need an answer.
It doesn't matter, Joe, because they'll use it.
I know. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear it.
The biggest danger in the messaging right now is it appears that the President Trump is leaning a little bit to almost a 19th century spheres of influence way of thinking about the world. Now, he hasn't articulated it that way, but if you're sitting in China and you're sitting in Russia and you're looking at the what the U.S. is doing in Venezuela, you're saying to yourself, well, you know, why shouldn't I grab my own sphere of influence with Taiwan or with Ukraine? And President Trump hasn't looked as eager to defend Ukraine. He has said when he was asked that he hasn't talked to President Putin about Venezuela, but there are a lot of Russian assets there, military assets, other assets there, intelligence assets, and certainly Vladimir Putin is looking at Ukraine through a Venezuelan lens, even if the president isn't at the moment. So we really have to watch what unfolds in Taiwan and Ukraine, perhaps as a unintended consequence of what's going on in Venezuela.
I think for China, Venezuela is a convenient tactic. They understand what Venezuela is. They're an unreliable partner. They don't pay their bills. They're not going to stake their whole strategy on Venezuela. I don't believe that China will use this as an excuse or justification to attack Taiwan. It's just not the way they think. They're not going, after all these years, they're not going to do it as a result of a tactical convenience. So China will make statements, very aggressive statements. That's expected. They have to do that. But I don't see any tangible, significant action on China's behalf.
This is really important. I think this is why to not have this analogy of, hey, well, maybe it's okay for the Chinese Communist Party and the People's Liberation Army to try to take Taiwan by force, is again going back to the sovereignty argument and being in favor of sovereign nations who respect the sovereignty of their people. That's what the case is in Taiwan, right? That's a successful democracy. And the claims of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party to Taiwan, are specious, right? And make clear this difference, between the criminal regime and Maduro's actions and activities since 2013 when he took over from Chavez, and contrast that with Taiwan.